Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be discussing a numerical where I'll be telling how to draw a network diagram when a list of project activities is given to us. Uh, in my earlier previous two videos on networking techniques, I have discussed activity on arrow diagram and then activity on node diagram, that is AOA and AON diagrams. Then I had discussed terminology used in networking techniques and few important rules, or rather important rules for constructing a network diagram. Specifically, I have talked about activity on arrow diagram. So in today's video, I'll be telling you how to construct an activity on arrow diagram if you have a list of project activities given to you. So under networking techniques, today I'll be discussing a numerical. I'm calling this as numerical 1, and as I post few more videos, there will be more numericals on networking techniques. So this is numerical number 1 in that list. So what is given to us? We are supposed to draw a network diagram for the activities of a maintenance job of a part of a refinery. So you have a list of activities. Those activities are concerned with a maintenance job in one part of a refinery. So those activities, these are given to us in this table. You have in the first column you have activities, and the second column, for each of the activity a brief description is given, and in the last column you have the predecessor activity. So for example, if there is an activity in this column, they will give predecessor activity to this activity. Okay, now let us look at the list. What are the activities? So first is activity A, and what is that activity? The activity is to dismantle the pipeline. The activity is to dismantle the pipeline, and for this activity there is no any predecessor activity. Then second activity is activity B, which is disassemble other fittings, and to this activity, activity A is the predecessor activity. Then activity C, what is that activity? The activity is to remove walls and check them. Predecessor activity for this is activity B. Then you have activity D, which is clean and check the walls. Predecessor activity, there are two predecessor activities to activity D, and these are activity C and activity E. Then you have activity E, which is cleaning the pipelines and other fittings. Predecessor activity to this is activity B. Then you have activity F, which is replacing the defective items. Predecessor activity to this is activities C and E. Then you have activity G, which is layout the pipelines, and predecessor activity to this is activity F. Then you have activity H, which is assembling the walls. Predecessor activity to this is activity G. Then you have activity I, which is do the final connections. Predecessor activities rather, there are two activities, H and D. And finally we have activity J, which is testing the fittings, and predecessor activity to this is activity R. Okay, so thus you can see there are various activities A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. There are 10 activities, and various predecessor activities, these are also given to us, and you have the description for each of the activity that is given in the table. Now for this list of activities, let us construct the network diagram. Let us construct the arrow activity on arrow diagram. So let us move it. Okay, to start with, what I am going to do, I will list first 5 activities, or we will deal with first 5 activities, and then we will deal with the remaining 5 activities. So I have just rewritten those activities. On this slide, I am writing first 5 activities. So activity A, dismantling the pipeline, no predecessor activity. Activity B, let us represent it. So since activity A has no any predecessor activity, this will be the starting activity. Okay, so there will be starting event for activity A, and I am numbering that as 1. Starting event for activity A, or in other words, this is the tail event for activity A. Okay, so activity A starts and it will end at event 2. Event 2 is the end event for activity A, or you can say event 2 is the head event of activity A. Okay, so activity A on the network diagram, on AO diagram, will be represented like this. Now let us move ahead to activity B. Activity B is disassemble other fittings. And for this activity, the predecessor activity is activity A. That means activity B is going to start only when A gets completed. So A if you look at the diagram, activity A is getting completed at event 2. So therefore, event 2 acts as start event for activity B. So you have this activity B, and then there will be completion of activity B at event 3. So for activity B, event 3 is the head event and event 2 is the tail event. Or you can say event 3 is the end event and event 2 is the start event. Okay. Now let us move towards activity 3. Third activity. What is that activity? It is activity C. What is the activity? Removal of walls, remove walls and check them. And for activity C, the predecessor activity is B. That is, activity C is going to start after completion of activity B. Activity B completes at event 3. So event 3 will act as start event for activity C, and you can show activity C like this. Then activity C will be getting completed at event 4. Okay, now let us move to the next activity. Next activity is activity D. What is that activity? Clean and check the walls. And for this activity, there are 2 predecessor activities. One is C, and C has got completed at event 4, but we don't know about E. So let us first know what is E. Activity E is clean the pipelines and other fittings. And activity E is going to start after B gets completed. That is, B is the predecessor activity to activity E. Okay, so that's why let us first show activity E on the network diagram. So activity E is going to start after activity B. So on the network diagram, if you look at the network diagram, event 3, which is the end event of B, that is going to act as start event for activity E. That's why activity E will start at event 3, and then it will get completed at event 5. Okay. So then now let us go back to activity D, for which the predecessor activities are activity C and E. That means after C gets completed and after E gets completed, D is going to start. So on the network diagram, C is getting completed at 4, E is getting completed at 5, and there is no connection between event 5 and 4. So we need to show a connection so that the network diagram becomes logical. And how are we going to do that? For that, we are going to use a dummy activity. So I'm showing a dummy activity. We know dummy activity will always be shown by a dash arrow. and in order to have more distinction, I have used a red color for that. Okay. Since it is necessary that C and E should be completed so that you can start activity D, we need a dummy activity to preserve the logic of this network diagram. So at 4, when you are at event 4, C has got completed, and through this dummy activity, E has also got completed. And that's why D will be starting at event 4, or event 4 will act as the start event for activity D, and then activity D will be getting completed at event 6. Okay, so is that clear to you? So here we have to make a use of a dummy activity in order to preserve the logic of this network diagram. Once you use the dummy activity, you are able to show how D gets completed, or how D can start only after C and E is completed as per the information that is available to us through this list of activities. Now let us move ahead. Now let us, we have the network diagram that we have constructed on the previous slide. We have arrived at event 6. Now let us look at the remaining 5 activities. Which are these 5 activities? Activity F. What is that activity? It is replacing the defective items. And predecessor activity to this is C and E. That means, as discussed previously at event 4, we have a situation where C and E are completed. C is completed at event 4, whereas E being completed at event 5, but by using a dummy activity, we are able to show that at event 4 C and E are completed. So F can start at event 4. That means for activity F also, 4 will act as the start event. Okay, so activity F will start at 4 and it will end at 7. Uh, if we continue the numbering, so after 6, this event will be numbered as 7. Okay, then next activity in the list is activity G. What is that activity? Layout the pipelines. So for that, the predecessor activity is F. So it is very easy to show. uh, Activity F is completing at event 7, so activity G can start at event 7. Next activity in the list, it will start at event 7 and it will get completed at event 8. Next activity in the list is activity H, which is assemble the walls, and for this G is the predecessor activity. So there are many options available, so you can show over here, uh, that means where G is ending, uh, you can start activity H. To check whether we are proceeding in the right direction, let us look at the other remaining 2 activities. One is activity I. So what is that activity? The activity is do the final connections, and for this, there are two predecessor activities. One is H and the other one is D. Okay, so you can start activity I, or activity I can start after H and D are getting completed. So when you look at the diagram, you can find D is getting completed at event 6. Okay, and H is starting after G, and it should get completed so that you can start with activity I. So the way it can be shown is like this. Or first I am showing all the activities. Last activity in the list is test the fittings, and for that the predecessor activity is I. Now let us go to the network diagram. So you have we have completed activity G. Next is activity H, and further, in order to start activity I, we need to complete H, and D is already completed. That means on the network diagram, you can show that activity H starts at event 8, but it ends at event 6. That is, event 6 will be the end event for activity H. So when you are at event 6, you have activity D and H completed, And once this is done, you are ready to do activity I. So that's why activity I will start at event 6. Okay. Then activity I will end at event 9. And finally, after activity I, the next activity is activity J, and therefore activity J will start at event 9 and it will end at event 10. Okay. So event 10 will be the last event in the network diagram. So we started with event 1 and then we gave number in an increasing order till we end at the last event, which is event 10. So in this way, when you have list of project activities, you can use uh, rules for drawing the network diagram and construct an appropriate network diagram. For this case, we needed one dummy activity in order to preserve the logic of the network diagram, and uh, I hope you have learned how to use that dummy activity on the network diagram. Okay. So this was a simple example to help you understand how to construct a network diagram when list of project activities is given to us. Okay. So I will be discussing few more examples in my new videos. For time being, thank you for being with me. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified as soon as I upload a new video. Let me tell you, I'm going to upload videos on various aspects of chemical engineering, and I'm sure these videos will be helpful to you for appearing for gate examination for chemical engineering. Thank you once again. Please do subscribe to my channel. You tell your friends to subscribe to my channel. It will be helpful to you. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, please put those questions in the comment section. Thank you. Have a nice day.